Hello, everyone. Welcome to Integrate Yourself. You're listening to episode 41. We're your hosts, Allison Pillow and Maya Gottlieb. You can find me, Allison, at pureenergypdx.com, and you can find Maya at mayagottlieb.com. Today is a short topic show, and it's based on a question that Maya presented to Dr. Ray Peat through email and his response to it. You can find out more about Dr. Ray Peat at raypeat.com. We also discuss how current health trends like cold showers, cold plunge, and fish oil have been taken out of context and explain why they may not be as effective as you think. So without further ado, here's the show. Ray Peat about cold showers.
Yeah, and I asked him what his thoughts were about cold showers. Well, I find it correlates with everything that's kind of a health fad. I call it a health fad because it's really popular.
Yeah.
Like Ketosis diets or something. So anything that's really like on the forefront is what we call health fitness guru stuff. He's always showing up to say that isn't the way it really is happening. Like you really can kind of look at. It's like,
Well, I think it's like the underlying thing is stress. Like you're putting your body under some stress that maybe your body can't handle, or, like with the ketosis thing, he's like, you don't want your body to make ketones.
All the time, right?
Yeah.
But no one understands like lactic acid buildup isn't a good thing. They hear it's a good thing, like in terms of, like, oh, my muscles, but they don't realize like you create that when you're constantly going through, some kind of glycolic change without oxidation. So like mostly what we're looking at is everything is this new way of doing something, but it's really controversial because it's creating aging versus giving you health. It's like, that isn't health. This is not health. Health is you not suffering through your longevity of your life.
Yeah.
So anyways, back to my conversation with Ray. I texted him and I said, or emailed him, and I said, I asked him, a cold shower is worth the hype or the idea of increasing brown adipose tissue to help the body be more fat burning. And his response was, fat burning as a result of stress is a major cause of aging. The only value of cold shower is that it reduces the heating bill.
Oh, wow. That's it. That's funny.
So you think about that. Like,
so the cold shower would actually... Well, that's true. Yeah. So for me, and you and I have talked about this as well, is all about heating the body, supporting the body heating itself until it can heat itself, right? So being out in cold weather and being able to heat yourself is good for the body to practice that way. Like, because that's what occurred to me actually literally this morning. I was just like thinking to myself, I wouldn't want to take a cold shower right now. Why wouldn't I just want to walk outside when it's cold outside and just see if my body can heat itself? Why put myself through all that, stress of shocking my body first thing in the morning like that, creating all that adrenaline, why wouldn't I just go put my coat on outside or go out without a hat and just see how that feels, see if I could just warm it up, So like that's the thing, is like common sense, we've kind of lost that
and
in a way.
I think we take cultural ideas and try to implement them in our own worlds where, we hear like the Eastern world side, like the Russians, they really use the cold as a stimulator for themselves. But in their life, like daily lives, they deal with severe cold. Like you're in the northern regions of Serbia, you are in cold all the time. And so maybe it's like the reverse. You're heating the body up by plunging it and forcing it to go into something that it's igniting it by doing that. But for somebody who's in the tropics to start always taking cold showers all the time, what you're doing is actually shocking the body out of its homeostasis, because you're trying to create an environment that works more for the northern polar areas where the southern tropics are not made that way. And you don't have all that. And so it started making me think about other things. So I asked my next question, and I'll follow up. Hopefully he'll follow up. I wrote, so when they're speaking of production of brown fat adipose tissue in the Eskimos and people living in colder climates, they're talking more about their bodies are adapting to aging than efficiency, and meaning that people who try to do cold plunges and showers on a daily basis are accelerating their aging. You know, if you look at people who live in the northern areas, their bodies are a little bit more adaptable to the thick, they get more calluses and thicknesses. So there's a reason for why that is. So I just think that somewhere in between, what we're doing is we're trying to cherry pick ideas of great health because these cultures are living longer, or they're not able to, they have to adapt to their survival environment, whereas our environment isn't the same. It's not to say we just don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, where we're like overemphasizing health and we're trying to do all these things. I just find that more and more people are getting confused by it.
Absolutely. Right? I think mainly because of the context. We don't know what context it's being used in, and we're just taking it out like with and putting it into a context that we think we understand it is, but it may not be at all or have anything to do with that. And so a lot of things that have been health trends sometimes end up being just things that people use for survival, and actually if they had a choice they wouldn't have done it.
Exactly.
That's the thing. And with some of those cultures too, they also get in saunas and hot springs. So is that a contradiction? I don't know. I mean, I think that if most people, if they have the choice, they're going to want to get into a hot spring or a sauna. But especially if it's cold outside. But I think that, maybe the cold plunge is just so you can feel alive, so you can get your adrenaline going because you feel like really tired because it's dark outside all the time. There just could be reasons. It doesn't mean that it's healthy, though.
Well, here's a good example I started to think about is fish oils, right? Mm-hmm. Why they were always talking about how fish oil was great for you. But what happened was we actually learned that the fish oil has the long chains and they're a little bit harder to digest, and they can influence inflammation for the beginning, but longevity wise, they're not so great.
Right.
So if you think about the Eskimos that eat food, sources mainly fish, and they have a lot of the fat from the animal and stuff, there's a whole other reason for why it works there and versus why it doesn't work so well for us in terms of where our environment is. And so exactly the same reason why some of the science can back up these trends, but the thing is it's taking it out of context, and it's not showing, well, what else they did.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so they eat more protein. Well, that protein is a certain source. It comes from a certain area. Maybe it's not toxic, or maybe they ate it in certain times and did different things, but everything was traditionally passed on for survival, right. Not to go for a bikini body or to have six-pack abs and walk around and show everybody how healthy you are, because it's kind of showing up that everybody who's following trends are getting a bit of a backlash. These things aren't working as well.
No, and a lot of people aren't realizing it. They're not realizing how fast this is creating aging in people, and they're not even maybe seeing it in themselves.
I've been finding that more and more, like when I don't follow a trend because I push myself to follow a trend, I notice that it's hard and it doesn't feel right. And I tried to remember to do a cold plunge one time, or I tried to remember to do a cold shower. And, it's like my body adversely says, forget that. Like, I don't want to do that. It doesn't feel good. And one of the things I noticed, you sent me that Abraham Hicks thing.
Yeah.
I listened to her, and one of her biggest thing was, if it feels good, go toward it. Yeah. If it feels good, like that's, like when we're listening to that interview, I was going, yeah, you're not listening because you're not listening to what it feels like. She said she did meditation because it felt good.
Yeah.
It felt good to be there. And that was like her gauge of why she came back. It wasn't because she was supposed to do this. Like, we're all running around thinking, we are supposed to do this for health. We're supposed to do this for happiness. We're supposed to do this for joy. But it's another thing that we're like forcing on ourselves to be like, well, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna,
That's the whole
it's
thing
constant.
about suffering. It's like we have this thought in the back of our heads, at least some of us do, that we have to suffer to really make something worth it, or for it to be real, or to count, or whatever. That's what we talked with Panya about too on a couple of shows back. I don't believe that that's necessary. And the more I learn, the more I realize that it's really about the ease of it. If it's easy, that usually means it's right, or if you feel like, I mean, not to say that you don't want to grow, you don't want to have personal growth and that kind of thing. It's just that we feel like because, we're resisting, because we're struggling, and I just don't believe that story anymore. It just doesn't resonate with me so much anymore. And so, I agree with you. What's the point if you're not enjoying life?
And also like the idea of we have to work hard all the time to accomplish these goals. We got to really, really hard, and everything I ever heard about like abundance and how to do that, it's a fallacy. They say, there's no such thing as working hard because you're not getting anywhere. It's this competition of self of like, well, I'm not good enough, so I better work harder. And harder is just meaning more suffering, and you're pushing yourself into a place that's not so fun anymore. You're just doing it because you think you're supposed to be there.
I just think that a lot of times it's not about the doing part as much as it is about the processing part.
Well, I think that's what we're learning too. Like one of the guys I hear, he's from Australia. He kind of comes on Facebook a lot. I can't think of his name at the moment, but he actually talks about like it's not working hard. What it is that you're enjoying the work and you're working because you like the work. Yeah. Because that's what makes you want to do more of it. And so that's, confusion of working hard. Like they work because they love working, because they love creating more and more. It's like the guys that get to a certain stage, like the really wealthy ones, it's not because they want to get there and retire. And it's because, or they feel like they have to work to make it happen. They say they do it because that's what makes them happy. Yeah. So it's an interesting dichotomy to realize, like, if you like it, do it. If you like it, then do it again, and then do it again, and do it again.
It's about the
feeling. And then stop if you don't like it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.